Millions upon millions of photographs get taken every year, and most come out just as planned. Then there are those that don't, the ones that capture something unexpected and, well, a little strange. Here we've compiled a list of pictures that might just have you a little spooked and running to turn on the lights. Follow us on our short journey through 9 photos that accidentally caught something creepy. Number 9. Spectre of Newby Church. In 1963, Reverend K.F. Lord took a photograph while in North Yorkshire, United Kingdom, inside the Church of Christ the Consoler, and caught something spooky. What is seen in the picture has been labeled an artifact, and that artifact looks just like a person. Many have speculated as to who or what the artifact is, and many believe that it resembles a monk from the 16th century wearing a white shroud over his face to hide some disfigurement or even leprosy. The founder of the Ghost Hunters of Australia website labels the image as probably fake, but photographic experts concluded that what's shown in the photo isn't the result of double exposure. Some believe that the photographer may have had an accomplice wearing a costume posed for the photograph, and that the person could be standing on a box given the height of the artifact. You may never know the true origins of this picture, but it is pretty creepy either way. Number 8. Wem Town Hall. Located in the town of Wem in Shropshire, England, Wem Town Hall first became famous in 1995 after an amateur photographer named Tony took a picture of the hall as it burned to the ground. The photo seemed to show a young girl standing in the doorway of the burning building who wasn't seen by anybody at the time of the fire. Tony got the photo analyzed by the Association for the Scientific Study of Anomalous Phenomena, which concluded that it was a burning piece of wood that fell on a railing that just looked like a little girl. The photo was then sent to a Dr. Vernon Harrison, the former president of the Royal Photographic Society, who concluded that the image was genuine, although stayed a bit skeptical. In 2010, photographic officers from the National Media Museum later deemed the photo doctored, suggesting that the image of the girl was pasted into the photo. Modified or not, the picture itself is haunting. The image of the girl in the flaming building is forever burned into our minds. Number 7. The Madonna of Bachelors Grove. In Chicago, there is a cemetery called Bachelors Grove that has been named the most haunted graveyard in America. Many sightings of strange things have occurred inside the cemetery, including a 2-headed ghost, a black dog that manifests near the entrance, and religious monks that wander the grounds. Perhaps the most intriguing and entirely creepy apparition has been labeled the Madonna of Bachelors Grove. In 1991, a few members of the Ghost Research Society visited the cemetery to conduct an investigation when they captured something strange in a photograph that they didn't see until developed. A woman dressed in white was sitting atop a tombstone, partially transparent and clothed in outdated garments. The team had been experiencing some anomalies with their equipment in the area, so they decided to investigate further and came up with this spooky photo. Nobody besides the research team was seen inside the cemetery at the time, so it made the picture all the more creepy. Bachelors Grove has been a favorite site among paranormal researchers since claims of otherworldly phenomena began being reported in the 1970s, and was even featured in a 2012 episode of Ghost Adventures. Number 6. Ghost at Tuinberry Farm. In 2008, designer Neil Sandbach was taking photos at a farm in Hertfordshire, England for some wedding stationery that he was creating for a couple hosting their wedding at the farm. He didn't notice anything unusual during his visit, but when he got home and opened one of the photos he had taken on his computer, he saw something a little strange. A blurry white figure appeared peeking around the corner of one of the buildings of the farm, and he knew that nobody else had been around when the photo was taken. He says that he shared the creepy image with the couple, and just before the wedding, the couple getting married asked if anyone had seen anything spooky at the venue. Various staff members described a young boy that they had seen on multiple occasions, dressed in white nightclothes and standing near the main barn. After hearing of the sightings, the couple was thoroughly freaked out, but the show must go on, as they say. Number 5. The Amityville Ghost. In 1974, the DeFeo family was living in a house in Amityville, Long Island, New York, when the 23-year-old son snapped and killed his family. The murders in Amityville have been the subject of many movies, documentaries, and books, and have become some of the most notorious crimes in history. A team of researchers joined paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren on an investigation of the Amityville house in 1976 and came up with a somewhat disturbing photo. Revealed by George Lutz, the owner of the house on the Merv Griffin show in 1979, the picture appears to be a young boy peeking out of a doorway near a staircase. Some believe that the photo could be of John DeFeo, widow who was murdered in the house by his brother in November of 1974. Others are skeptical and state that the person seen in the picture could be Paul Bartz, who was an investigator working on the team the night the photo was shot. Infrared cameras had been set up by professional photographer Gene Campbell that automatically captured pictures throughout the evening, and one of those cameras snapped this picture. Considered one of the most famous paranormal photographs of all time, the picture is the source of much debate as to whether it captured the image of a real ghost boy or not. Number 4. Intriguing infant. A woman named Mrs. Andrews visited her children's shared cemetery plot in the 1940s and took a picture of the tombstone. When she had the photo developed, something that was not there when she snapped the picture appeared sitting on the shared grave, an image of a little girl looking happily into the camera. Perplexed, Mrs. Andrews searched for an explanation for what she had captured. Many have offered that maybe the toddler in the picture was her daughter as a little girl, but Mrs. Andrews wholly denies it. Her daughter, Joyce, had died at 17, and the small girl didn't look like the little girl she remembered. She claims there were no children in the vicinity at the time she snapped the picture, and that she in no way faked it. Some believe that the photo may have captured the spirit of a small girl buried near her children's plot, or that it is merely the result of double exposure. Either way, the photo is genuinely intriguing and has become quite famous throughout the paranormal community. Number 3. Freddy Jackson. A photograph taken in 1919 shows a Royal Air Force squadron that appears to have one paranormal twist. Pictured in the top row, just behind the fourth man from the left, is what seems to be another ghostly-looking man. The man was quickly identified by other members of the squadron as Freddy Jackson, an air mechanic killed by an airplane propeller 2 days before the taking of the photo. Freddy was actually buried on the day that the picture was snapped, and some think that he was unaware of his death and joined the rest of his squad for the group photo. The photo wasn't published until 1975 by Sir Victor Goddard, a retired R.A.F. officer, and has been the target of skeptics since its release. Sir Victor Goddard also claimed to have had some kind of time travel experience via airplane in 1935, seeing an abandoned airfield in Scotland as it would be in 1939 after being reactivated. Although most seem to accept the authenticity of the photo depicting Freddy Jackson, the doubters may have a reason to be skeptical given Goddard's strange tales. Number 2. The Brown Lady. Known as the Brown Lady of Rainham Hall, this ghost resides in Norfolk, England, and, you guessed it, haunts Rainham Hall. Brought into the spotlight by photographers from Country Life magazine, she is nicknamed Brown Lady because of the brown dress she is known to wear. Legend has it that this ghost belongs to Lady Dorothy Walpole, who was the sister of the first Prime Minister of Great Britain, Robert Walpole. The story goes that her husband, Charles Townshend, discovered her having an affair with Lord Wharton and punished her by locking her in rooms at the Wharton home. Another story has it that Dorothy was invited by the Countess of Wharton to stay over for a few days, knowing that her husband would never let her leave or see her children again. Lady Walpole died at Rainham Hall in 1726 from smallpox. The first reported sighting of the lady came in 1835 when a man named Colonel Loftus attended a Christmas party at Rainham Hall. He and another guest, known as Hawkins, claimed they had seen the Brown Lady as they went to their bedrooms. Loftus then saw her again the following evening and reported that the ghost had empty eye sockets, which had to freak him out completely. His sightings led staff members to leave Rainham Hall permanently, and although they were the first times she had been seen, they weren't the last. She's been spotted numerous times throughout the years, and the photo taken by the photographers of Country Life magazine is one of the most famous ghost pictures of all time. So, for you guys out there watching, have you ever captured anything like this in your photos? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for more videos just like this. Number 1. Mrs. Chinnnery Smother. On March 22, 1959, Mabel Chinnnery and her husband drove to the graveyard that her mother had been buried in a week earlier to take a photo of the grave. Located in Ipswich, Suffolk, England, the trip to the cemetery went smoothly, as did the visiting and photographing of the grave itself. With one photo left in the camera, Mrs. Chinnnery decided to take a picture of her husband, who was waiting for her in the car. It wasn't until she got the film developed that she noticed something a little off about the picture she had taken of her husband. Sitting in the back seat was her mother, or what she thought looked like her mother, behind her husband. She claims that the spot the ghost is sitting in is the spot that her mother always used to sit when the family went out for a drive. Supposedly, a photo expert debunked a double exposure theory by explaining that if it were double exposure, part of the car wouldn't be blocking some of the mother's face. He also claimed that the image couldn't be the reflection of anyone in the window either. Experts these days say that if the photo was the result of a double exposure, it would have had to have been intentional and would have taken skill to pull off, and that's doubtful considering it was the last picture in the camera. Comparisons to photos of Mabel's mother have been made throughout the years, but nothing conclusive was ever found. We'll be sure to check our cars before we hop onto the road tonight.